Hello everybody, my name is Wilder, and now that 2021 is finally over, there are a lot of games coming out in 2022 that I'm looking forward to. Especially because I didn't really get to play a lot of games last year. I skipped over quite a few of them. However, the games I did decide to play in 2021 were amazing. Even though I didn't play a whole lot that came out, I had a blast with what I did play. Which is a good thing because last year was way too crazy, but there were a few games that kept me sane through it. So here are my top 5 games of 2021. Number 5 is Shin Megami Tensei 5. Fun fact, I made a first impressions video for Shin Megami Tensei 5 over on my Patreon, and a lot of things I said in that video are still true. SMT5 is a lot of fun to me. I know that not everyone will enjoy it a ton, and a lot of that has to do with how slow it starts up, but there's a lot to enjoy in this game overall, from how the map is a free roam type setup, to actually seeing the demons walk around in the overworld. That is so cool, and it adds a ton to the atmosphere and immersion. The battles are as great as always, coming from the SMT series, but they're really flashy this time around too, with a bunch of cutscenes for special moves. The customization for you and your demons is on a whole other level. It's been upgraded from previous entries in a lot of good ways. The story itself is intriguing and takes you to cool areas once it, actually gets going. I do have quite a few problems with this game, the extremely slow pacing of it being one, but there are a few things like some quality of life features being a bit too helpful to the point where they negate certain feels or experiences for the player. That's a big one for me, but SMT5 is such a good time, especially as a fan of the series, that I really don't worry about my problems with the game too much while I'm playing. I think SMT5 is really accessible to new players and would be a really great and easy way to get into the series, but at the same time I also think that a big portion of the experience here was done better in other entries in the series. But SMT5 does do a lot right, and when you're playing through it and all those mechanics and great features line up just right, it's a blast. I waited a long time for SMT5 to release, and I wasn't disappointed. It's been great. Number 4 is Tales of Arise. After not enjoying the last few Tales games, Arise was a nice balance between new and old to take what works from both and implement them together so well, while also feeling so distinct and unique in a series that has so many different games and experiences. After being disappointed enough personally with the Tales series, I didn't think they could pull something like Arise off. I didn't think they wanted to be fair. I thought they had liked the path they had chosen. But this game really goes to show that experimenting is never a bad thing, because it may just lead to a game like Tales of Arise, where so many mechanics and systems blend so well together. The story of this game had me engaged fully, faster than any other Tales game in the series, right from the beginning. And as you travel around the world and meet other people who are in similar situations to you, and you're determined to help them, the game just keeps building upon itself so well. And this battle style is such a wonderful mix between new and old, like I was talking about before. It feels so familiar, yet it brings in so many new concepts. And the battles are flashy too. They look really nice. Tales of Arise set a new standard for the Tales series, not just for me, but for a lot of people. For the first time in a while, I want to see this Tales series continue. I'm invested, I'm excited to see it grow even more, and I can't wait to see what they do next. Number 3 is Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. I grew up playing the original Ratchet & Clank on the PlayStation 2. And it was awesome. All the different interesting planets you could go to, all the colorful characters you would meet, the cool weapons you could buy. It had just enough action, humor, and heart put into it to know that it was something special. Rift Apart is reminding me a lot of that original game. Not in its story or characters necessarily, but more in how it's designed, what it lets you play around with in its world, weapon and gadget-wise, in its action and side content. Overall, this game is just fun. It's really fun. And you can tell by just looking around in every area that there was a lot of care put into this game. Into every cool and interesting weapon, into the side characters' random dialogue while you're just walking around certain areas, to the quips and jokes made during battle. You can tell the developers had as much fun making this silly, goofy, but amazing action game as the player will have playing it. And I have to talk about how pretty this game is. The color! There's so much of it. Everything is so smooth, too. It runs so well, for me at least. I love the look of every planet I've been to, and even the characters have some really silly designs that I've enjoyed. This game looks great. It might be my favorite looking game on the PS5 to date. And it might even be my favorite PS5 game so far. This game has been so much fun. Number 2 is Persona 5 Strikers. This is another game I made a video for on my Patreon. This game is fantastic. It's number 2 on here for a reason. I got the Platinum Trophy for this game. I sat for around 8 hours grinding out that last trophy in a way that definitely wasn't intended. But I didn't even feel that time go by. This game is so much fun. The story is what did it for me. It was a great continuation from Persona 5 in a believable way that introduced similar themes through new concepts that blended perfectly into Persona 5's world. This is how you do a sequel, spin-off, sequel. This is how you do it. While the main story is great, the individual characters getting extra time to each take the spotlight and to show who they are and what they value and stand for, they were all great in Persona 5, but here it feels like they've already grown, and now they get to stand out as the person they are, not who they want to be. It's wonderful to see. Yusuke, a character I found pretty great, pretty funny in Persona 5, just might be my favorite character now because of this game. Because of how much the things he said and stood for resonated with me. Strikers did such a good job at taking a beloved game and, yes, giving you some fan service with these characters you love so much, but also really building on the foundation of that first game and proving that there is a reason for this game to exist past just another Persona spin-off. I 100% recommend this game. I didn't even talk about the battle style, which borrows from the Warriors games, but I mean, it's completely unrecognizable, what with how many Persona familiar mechanics there are. They transformed it beautifully. I wouldn't even call this a Warriors game, it's just an action Persona game. It's a lot of fun, and it hit me right in the heart, but it's not number 1 on this list. I saved the top slot for something that I couldn't believe was real when I beat it. Number 1 is Metroid Dread. What a fantastic game. This is really my first Metroid game. I've played a bit of Super Metroid and a little bit of Metroid Prime, but never really sat down and played one properly. And never beat a Metroid game either, until now. I got Metroid Dread for Christmas in 2021, and I 100%'d the game before my Christmas trip was even over. I couldn't believe it. Well, the game isn't long, which is it's a problem. It is a problem. I want more of it. While it isn't long, it was an amazing experience for someone like me who hasn't played any of the Metroidvania style games before. Going through an area only to find that you've seen less than half of that area, and realizing that you can't explore more until you get a new power-up, and then coming back with 3 power-ups and just exploring to your heart's content? Genius. It's just genius. Every time I got a new ability, I wasn't thinking, okay, how do I, progress from here with this new ability to beat that boss ahead? No, I was in my menu looking at the maps of the areas I had already gone through and going, where can I go now? What can I find? What was just unlocked for me? Some of the puzzles you have to brain out with your super speed and shine sparking to blast through the speed blocks was some of the most fun I had in the game, because some of them were hard, like stupidly hard. But I felt so cool and awesome when I pulled those tricks off, and I felt accomplished too. But speaking of hard, the bosses. Now, I'm new to this genre, so the style of play I had to get used to was new as well. These bosses are 100% completely a learning experience. Completely. When I got late into the game, I stopped going into boss battles to beat the boss the first few tries. I went in there to learn for the first few tries. Some of these bosses took a lot of learning and planning for me, and I had to learn a lot of muscle memory for this game. And I did get really frustrated in a few areas, but the more I got frustrated, the more I wanted to beat it. And the more I wanted to beat it, the better it felt when I did. This game was so rewarding, so much more rewarding than any game I've played in a long while. I can't remember the last time I felt this accomplished just from beating a boss, because I worked for it, every single one. Metroid Dread has a story too, and while I'm sure for Metroid fans it filled in a nice gap in the timeline, for me it was pretty cool. It was nice to learn a bit about Samus, but it was awesome to see her be just a total badass. The cutscenes where she was just going off were an absolute delight to see. And the Emmys, they're terrifying. You have to run from them or you die. There's a little window where you can counter them and get away, but it is really hard to hit. So you just kind of die. I will say they got really old after a while, and they're the only part of the game I started to genuinely dislike just before they went away. They overstayed their welcome for me by just a tiny bit. But hey, when that's your only complaint for an entire game, what can I say? That's why it's number 1 on my list. I'm going to go play every other Metroid game now. I want to. I loved this. I want to experience a game like this again. I'm going to go play every other Metroid game. It was absolutely phenomenal. And there you go. Those are my top 5 games of 2021. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think of the games on my list if you've played them, and make sure to let me know what your top 5 games of 2021 were as well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful new year, and as always, I will see you in the next one.